G'day everybody. Righto, bit of an update on the petition. We've got 32,000 signatures. It's going up one a second. I was talking to a mate of mine in New South Wales the other day. He said they had 90,000 signatures on a change.org petition, which significantly affected the proposed Marine National Park down there. So, you know, we're at 30 odd. Spread the link. We need to get the numbers right up. And secondly, look, I'm a Queenslander, okay? And I apologise, not for being a Queenslander, but for getting involved in what could be seen as a Victorian issue. And this is just my point of view from someone living up in Queensland. But we've already started to get a whole lot of responses to... Now look, you're going to have to forgive me, all right? I'm just a dumb Queensland bush mechanic, but I have spent a lot of time in the bush, and I tell you what, some of the responses we're getting from politicians to our petition numbers are extraordinary. Now you'd expect, you know, the National Party, they've all come forward and said, no, we don't want to know about a park, and obviously Shooters and Fishers and other parties like this, totally opposed to a park. But then in the middle of all this, I go and get this really strange reply from someone called Ellen Sandell, who's the state member for Melbourne. Now, this is really weird because I don't think they read the email, but basically in this it says, she tells me the Greens' plan is to fix Parks Victoria with an immediate ongoing increase of $50 million a year to invest in more rangers, science and conservation management. I ask you to remember the last two things, science and conservation management, okay? Create new national parks, with the Great Forest National Park, of course. Reopen visitor centres to improve access to nature for all Victorians. Yeah, except most Victorians won't be able to get in. But anyway, look, appoint a new board to Parks Victoria, including a majority of members with environmental, conservation and Indigenous knowledge and expertise. Wonderful words from someone who is the state member for Melbourne. Now, electoral bounds, this is just a little area in the middle of the city, the CBD. And she's the state member. She's a Greenie, obviously. But look, I can tell you what this means from my dumb Queensland perspective, okay? It's really, really simple. $50 million a year, and they're going to close down the land. Now that money, most of that money will be spent on inner city management. Guess what? There's a couple of universities in that area. It'll be spent on research, on climate change research, even though we know it's happening. It'll be just money that she will take and use and spend in her electorate. And meanwhile, the bush is going to suffer big time. That's not going to worry them because people in the centre of Melbourne probably very rarely go out and have a good drive through the area they want to shut down. But what is going to happen on the other side of it is that without all the recreational pursuits that so many of us Australians love, this whole great big area is going to suffer. The towns are going to suffer. I know, you know, that it's local jobs and local industry that keeps towns alive. It's people coming through spending money. It's not airy-fairy picnickers in bollarded little areas, okay? So the towns are going to suffer, and that's before they've had to come up, the taxpayers, the people who really work for a living, have come up with $50 million to spend on inner city management. I mean, look, honestly, guys, from my position up here in Queensland, stupid as I am, it just seems like a total crock of shit. And you're letting yourselves go down that route. Okay, other stuff. I had an email from another lady called Lizzie Blanthorne, whose Labor Party, it didn't even come from her, it came from one of her workers who basically said, you know, cut everything else out, no answer, no commitment either way, just essentially priority will be given to correspondence from residents of the Pascoe Vale electorate. I don't know where Pascoe Vale is, but I'm kind of betting it's probably not in the bush. And I don't qualify, obviously, but do you know what that says to me? It says to me that this lady and this Labor Party doesn't want to know about the issue because they haven't answered the question, and worse than that, they don't want to talk to anybody outside their own electorate. Now, if that electorate, Pascoe Vale, is in the city, then how are they going to know what's happening in the bush? Why should they have a say in the bush? My whole point, okay, is that the people who live, love, work in the bush are the people who should be responsible for the bush. Yes, we need a little bit of help, you know, a little bit of science, something like that. It'd be wonderful. But at the end of the day, guys, this is not looking very good. You are going to lose your heritage. You're going to lose your bush. It'll be so badly managed. It's not funny. The money will be spent in universities and inner city areas. And once again, the bush will miss out. Regional towns are going to go broke. It's so frustrating. And when I go and I look at these names and I do a little bit of Googling, what do I find out, you know? Ellen Sandell, state member for Melbourne. Look, an activist at university, great. The Australian Youth Climate Coalition. Sounds great, doesn't it? In 2008, they went to Poland. The Australian delegation travelled through 10 nations to reach the summit in Poland. And then every year after, they've had a meeting somewhere in the world. Now, this is, you know, heaps and heaps of young people flying all over the world to talk about climate change. I'll tell you about climate change. It's easy. Skype it with a laptop hooked up to 12 volt. Look, I don't need air conditioning. What's wrong with you? You're flying in aeroplanes to talk about climate change. You are hypocrites. You're having world trips based on climate change. Your own footprint is more than the average bush user. This is so frustrating. And what would she know, honestly, about the bush? She's only talking to university-educated people, and that's lovely. You know, everyone should have a say in this, but I mean everyone. When you put together a committee, get some bush user groups on it. Get some people who actually know about the bush on there. You know what we're seeing at the moment, don't you? A giant stuff-up in New South Wales, in an area that was declared parks and people were kept out of. And now, all of a sudden, we've got a problem with wild brumbies. Of course we have. Of course we have. Because as soon as you lock the people who use the bush out, the whole thing is in a state of imbalance, okay? It's so frustrating. Because once again, what are they talking about? Oh, the scientists want an immediate solution. Aerial professional shooting of the brumbies. So they're going to spend a fortune on that. That's before they've spent a fortune on going in themselves to areas we can't access, to research all this, to count all the brumbies, that they're going to get the professional shooters to come and shoot, and they'll pay them for it. When the whole problem could have been solved right from the start by involving bush people in a bush issue. I'm sorry guys, I get really angry about this. Pass this petition around. And I do apologise for being just a Queenslander getting involved in something that's happening in Victoria. But I'll tell you what it really amounts to. I'm an Australian. I'm a bushman. Even my dog's annoyed. Well, that might be the possums in the shed. But look. Hey. Shut up! But look. I'm an Australian. I'm a citizen of this country. I've spent my whole life travelling the bush in this country. I love it dearly. And I'm watching great big swathes of it go down the tubes because people who haven't got a clue, who think, you know, national parks is this utopian vision of perfect nature. It doesn't work like that, guys. Ever since the big white canoe landed here and we took over from the Indigenous people, management has gone like this. And the more you take it out of the hands of the people who know it and love it, the worse it's going to get. Righto, there's the link. Sign the petition. Pass it to someone who hasn't. Do something. Next week I'm going to be asking you to do more.